In today's video, we're going to be using Scratch to make a little game called Ball Catcher, where the objective of the game is to catch as many of the blue and yellow balls as possible in 30 seconds while trying to avoid the lightning bolts. Okay, the yellow ball's worth 2 points, blue ball's worth 1 point, and the lightning bolt will take 3 points off your score. Okay, so time's about to run out. I'll just let it go through till the end. 4 seconds left. You can see the time in the top right hand corner. Bang. Okay, so when the time's up, you get a little message coming out of the bowl saying game over. You can see your final score tally up in the top left there, and all you have to do is simply press the green flag and it will run again. It will reset the score and the time, and you can see it starts all over. Okay, so fairly simple game to get started in Scratch today. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to make a file and new document up. Okay, so we will be starting a fresh page. When you start Scratch, the Scratch cat will appear on your stage. Okay, what you need to do is just go down the bottom to the sprites library and right click on that cat and delete it. We don't need the cat in this game. Okay, what we are going to do first is give ourselves a background for our game, or a backdrop as it's called in Scratch. This area here on the right, on the left is the stage. This is where all the action takes place in our game. And to put a backdrop in it, all you need to do is go down to the bottom left here where it says stage and one backdrop. And we're going to hit the first button underneath it, those little mountains there. And it says choose backdrop from library. You can choose any backdrop for this, but I'm going to choose this one here called Blue Sky. Okay, it's got the green hedge and the brown dirt along the bottom, so you can double click on that and you'll see that this appears in your page now as your backdrop. Okay. Next thing we need to do is bring in some sprites. Now sprites are the little objects that make up our game. In this case we've got two coloured balls, a lightning bolt and a bowl to catch those balls with. Okay. The way we make sprites, down the bottom here in our library, you click the first button there, that little troll. We're going to choose sprites from a library. You can make your own or you can import your own, but what we're going to do is just use the ones that Scratch has already created for us. Okay, and here's the first one here, the ball. Okay, then you double click it, it'll come into your game, and there's your first object or sprite in your game. For the next one, we're going to make another new sprite. We're going to click the ball again, so just double click that yellow ball. This time, on this ball, we're going to go to costumes. And when you click on costumes, you can see different coloured balls. Okay, for this one I'm going to choose the blue ball. And I'm just going to go back to scripts. So that's got our second sprite in. Our next one, if we just go back to this little troll again, we're going to bring in the lightning bolt. So you're going to have to scroll down a little bit here, and it's in alphabetical order, so when you get to the letter L you should see the lightning. Okay, so just double click on that. That'll bring the lightning bolt into the game. Now that's a little bit big. Okay, I think the balls are a good size, but this is a bit too big. So to resize this, all you need to do is go up the top here where you've got the grow and shrink options. Choose the shrink option where the arrows all point towards the center, and just keep clicking on that lightning bolt till you're happy with its size. If you want to resize these balls at all, maybe just a little bit, you can just knock them down in size by using that shrink tool. Okay, since the gold one are worth more, you might want to make them smaller. It's up to you. Okay, they're the sizes I'm going to stick with for this game. The last sprite we need to bring in now is the bowl to catch those balls with. So again, scroll down a little bit, you'll see the bowl just there. Double click on it and move it down to the bottom of your page. Okay, if you think that's a little bit too small, feel free to make it grow a little bit. Okay, I think that will do us. Okay, so that's looking good. We've got all the backdrop and the sprites in our game. What we're going to do now is code it up to make it actually work. Now we do the coding on the right hand side of the page. As you can see down the middle here, we've got blocks of code. Now these are known as scripts. Okay, all we have to do with these scripts is drag them across to our workspace over here, put them in some sort of logical order that makes sense, and we should have a working game. So what we're going to start with today is the bowl. So make sure you've clicked on the bowl to select it. And what we're going to do here is go across to our events tab to get started. In the events tab, we're going to bring out this first block of script, which is when the green flag is clicked. Okay, the green flag is up here, and when we click that, it starts our game. So we're generally always going to start with this piece of code. So when the green flag is clicked, what do we want to happen to this bowl? Well, we want it to move. Okay, so there's a few ways to do this. Okay, the way I'm going to do it in this one is by using our control tab here. Okay, and I'm going to bring out something called an if-then statement. Okay, basically this statement works by having, if a certain criteria is met, then we're going to perform a certain action. Okay, now that's not going to make a lot of sense yet, but when we finish this block of code, it's going to make more sense. So once you've dragged the if-then statement onto the page, I want you to go over to the Sensing tab. And in the Sensing tab, we're going to choose this key space pressed, and we're going to drag it and drop it between the words if-then. Okay, and we're going to change that key there that's being pressed from the space bar to the left arrow key. So the left arrow. So now this piece of code is saying if we are pressing the left arrow key, then now we just need to tell it what to do when we press the left arrow key. Okay, now the way this backdrop works here in Scratch is it works on a timeline, or works off coordinates. Okay, and basically at the moment our little bowl would be sitting somewhere near the center of the page. If we want our little bowl to move to the left when we press our left arrow key, we're going to have to change its x coordinates so it moves along that x timeline. Okay, so you can see the edge of the page over here is minus 240. The center of the page is 0. Okay, so we just want to move it a little bit across when we press the left arrow key. So the way we do that is we just go to the Motion tab up here, and we're going to choose the one that says change x by 10. We're going to drag that up and put it inside that yellow script. Okay. Now to make it move left, we actually need to move it into the negatives on our timeline. So we need to make that minus 10. So that's our piece of code to make our left arrow key work. If the key left arrow is pressed, then change its x coordinate by minus 10. So it's just going to push it to the left a little bit. Okay. Now we can pick that code up and snap it onto the green flag code, so when we press the start button we should be able to move our little bowl to the left. Let's just try that. I'll press the green flag at the top and I'll press my left arrow. Nothing happens. Okay, now there is a reason for that. Alright, we want this code to run over and over again throughout our game. We pretty much want it to run while the entire game is being played. Okay, and at the moment that piece of code runs for a split second and then it stops. So what we need to do is go back to our Control tab here and drag out this script that says forever and wrap it around it. This is called a loop, or a forever loop, and basically that's going to make that piece of code run forever, which is until our game stops. Okay, so now when we attach that to the green flag code, we can run it. Now if I try and move to the left, we start moving to the left. I obviously can't move to the right yet, so I'm stuck off the edge of the page there at the minute. I'll just have to use my arrow to drag that back in. But that forever loop constantly runs that code, and our game is always listening out for when we press that left arrow key. When we do, then we change our x coordinate by 10. Now to do the right arrow, it's very similar. It's just going the opposite way. So instead of going negative 10, it goes into the positive 10. If I go back to my timeline or my coordinates here, you can see if we move to the right, we start ending up in positive numbers, like here's the 100 mark and here's the 200 mark, and our page stops at the 240 x coordinate. Okay, so let's do that quickly. Okay, so we're going to bring out the if-then statement first, and we're going to go to Sensing, and we're going to choose the key space pressed and put it between the words if and then. We're going to change that key being pressed from the space bar to the right arrow this time. So if the key right arrow is pressed, then we'll go back to our Motion tab, and we're going to change its x coordinate by 10. You don't have to touch anything there. That's all good. Now what we can do with this piece of code is we're going to put it inside this forever loop. Okay, so pick it up and put it in just inside it. So now we've got two pieces of code running constantly throughout our game. Our game is always listening out for when we press the left arrow and the right arrow. So now when we press the green flag, we should be able to move left and we should be able to move right. Okay, so our bowl is moving nicely. Can't move up and down, which is good. That's what we want. Okay, so far so good. Right, another thing you need to be aware of is if you put your bowl up here and run the game, your bowl's stuck up in the middle of the sky. Okay, so what we need to do is just make sure that this bowl is always sitting down the bottom of our page. Okay, if you look down here, you've got X and you've got Y coordinates. Okay, what we're going to do is look at that y coordinate. So it's about minus 155 down there. So what I'm going to do is simply stay in my motion tab here, and I'm going to choose this option, go to X and Y. And I'm just going to drag that and put it underneath that piece of green flag code. So when the green flag is clicked, go to. Now to put it in the center of the page, we set our X to 0, and the Y value, well, minus 140 is where it's at now. I think that looks pretty good, so let's just leave it there. So what I can do is move my bowl anywhere on the page, but as soon as I press that green flag, it comes straight back to this position of X 0 and Y minus 140. Okay, and the code after it will allow us to move it left and right still. Okay, but every time you press that green flag now, that bowl's going to start in the middle of the page. Alrighty, so that's looking good so far. What I might do just for the moment is save that. Okay, we don't want to lose our work, so go to File and Save, and you might need to make yourself a new folder. I'm going to call this folder Ball Catcher, and inside of that we're just going to give it a file name called Ball Catcher and save it. Okay, so that's looking good. And the next thing we want to do in our game is add a time limit. Okay, so for this game we want to put a 30-second time limit on the clock and allow the user 30 seconds to catch as many of these balls as possible. Once the 30 seconds is up, the game will end. Okay, so what we need to do to make a time limit is create something called a variable. Now a variable is basically like a little basket that holds information, and that information inside that basket can change. In this case it's going to be the time. It's going to start at 30 and it's going to work its way down to 0. Okay, so to create a variable you need to go across to your data tab here and choose the option make a variable. The variable name is going to be time. Just leave this selected on for all sprites and click OK. When you create the variable time, you'll see it appears on your page. You can pick that time up and move it around. I'm just going to put it in the top right hand corner of my page. Okay, what we're going to do is go to the Events tab next, and we're going to create a new script up. Okay, so grab this when the green flag is clicked script. Okay, we're going to make a second one up now. So when we start our game, what we want to do is set this time here to 30 seconds. And the way we do that is we go back to the Data tab. We've got an option here, set time to 0. Just drag that out and attach it to the green flag code, and instead of setting it to 0, set it to 30. Okay, and when you press your green flag now, watch this time change from 0 to 30. Okay, so that's a good start. We've got 30 seconds on the clock. After that, what we're going to do is just wait 1 second. So in your Control tab, we're just going to wait 1 second just for the user to press the green flag and get settled for 1 second. After 1 second, we want this clock to count down to 0. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit confusing, but if we work logically, it'll all make sense. So the first thing we want to do is go to our Data tab here again, and we've got an option here to change the time by 1. Okay, if I drag that out and put it underneath my code and run the green flag, watch the time, we'll see if it changes by 1. There we go, it changed by 1. It went up to 31. Okay, for starters, we don't want our time going up, we want it going down. We want it to count down to 0. So we're going to need to change that time by -1. Okay, so just change that to -1. Now if we run the code, it goes from 30 down to 29. Okay, so we're counting down, which is good, but the issue is it only does it once. Okay, we want this code to keep repeating until it gets to 0. Okay, so we've got a piece of script that does that for us, and it's in the Control tab here. We have this option called Repeat Until, and I want you to drag that out and wrap it around, changing the time by 1. So we need to repeat this changing the time by -1 until a certain criteria is met, and that criteria is the time equaling 0. When the time equals 0, that means our game is over and we stop. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our Operators tab now and find the equal sign with 2 squares on either side of it. Simply pick that up and drop it next to Repeat Until. Okay, what we're going to do is repeat this piece of code until the time. So in our Data tab, grab the time, put it in that first little white box, equals, as I said before, 0. Okay, so we're going to repeat this time by -1 until it gets down to 0. So we're going to take 1 off the time until it equals 0. Once you've done that, you can drag it up and drop it onto the rest of your code. Now that's still not finished. If I was to run this game, watch what happens to the time. It's not going to work. It starts at 30 and goes straight to 0. Okay, we're not finished just yet. Okay, we just need to grab our control tab again and put the wait 1 second underneath change time by -1. Okay, this is going to get our clock counting down by 1. So let's watch it now. 30, 29, and you can start to see now our time is running down. Now that will go all the way to 0, and then it should stop. It won't go any further, so it won't go into the negatives. Remember, we've told it just here in the green that when our time equals 0, that's basically the end. Okay, so let's just see. We've got 10 seconds. I know it's a little bit time consuming, but bear with me. I just want to show you that it will stop when it gets to 0. Here we go. It's got to 0, and that's it. Okay, it won't go any further. So I'll stop our game there. Once we do get to that 0 point, there's one last thing I want to do. It's in the Events tab here. I just want you to broadcast a message. Okay, so grab this broadcast message and put it at the bottom. And from the drop down box, we're going to create a new message, and it's called End. And click OK. And that basically tells the game that we've reached the end of our game. And a bit later on, we're going to use this broadcasted message to control some of the other variables in our game. Okay, at the moment that does absolutely nothing, but you'll see later on it's going to come in handy. So we're looking good. We've got our bowl moving left and right, and we've got our time counting down from 30. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is have a little message pop up to say that the game is over, and basically stop our game. Okay, and we're going to do that on this bowl as well. So the way we tell our game is over is this message End has been broadcasted across our game. So what I can do, still in this Events tab, is grab when I receive message 1, and we're just going to change message 1 to End. So when I receive the message that our game has ended, what I'm going to do is go across to our looks here, and where it says say hello, drag that out and drop it underneath it. Instead of saying hello, we're just going to write game over. Okay, so when our game gets the message from this block of code saying that the timer has finished, that's the end of our game, so we'll say that our game is over. Okay, the other thing I want to happen is I want the code to stop. So we don't want to be able to move our basket left and right anymore. So in the Control tab here, you've got a stop option here that says Stop All. I'm going to drag that out and put it underneath Game Over, and we're actually going to change it to just stop other scripts in this sprite. So it's going to stop these scripts from running. So the clock stops and our movement of the basket will stop. Alrighty. So to test this, I'm not going to sit here and wait for 30 seconds. Okay, I might put 5 seconds on the clock just for now, just for our test run, and we'll see if this little piece of code works. So if I press the start flag, we should have 5 seconds on the clock. It'll count down to 0. When it gets to 0, everything stops, and look, there's a little message saying game over. Okay, I can no longer move left and right. I'm pressing my left and right arrow keys now, but my basket is stuck because we've told all the scripts to stop running. Okay, and that's the end of our game. So that looks good. I'm just going to move this 5 seconds now back to 30 seconds. Okay, so that's our basket all coded up. What I'm going to get you to do is just go File and Save. Okay, don't want to lose that work we've just created. The next thing we want to code up is the first ball. Okay, now the first ball is the yellow one. It's worth double the points of the blue one. Alrighty, so just keep that in mind as we make this. So the first thing I want to do with this yellow ball is go to the Events tab and drag out when the green flag is clicked. Okay, so when we start our game, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we want to do is make this ball drop down the page from a random position. Okay, we don't want the ball to always fall down from the same spot because that becomes too easy. So we want the ball to appear anywhere across our page, okay, at a random position. We can get the computer to choose that random position. So what we do is just go to our motion up here, and in our motion we've got an option. If you go down a bit further, where it says go to mouse pointer, you've got the option of random position. So you can drag out the go to mouse pointer and just change it to random position. Okay, so we want this yellow ball to go to a random position when we start our game. Okay, so if we press the green flag here, you see it went to a random position. The issue is that random position is not always at the top of the page. It could be down here, like where it ended up just then. If I stop the game and run it again, now it starts down here. And that's a bit of an issue. We want our yellow balls to start at the top of the page every time. They can start anywhere on the x-axis, but on the y-axis, which is how high the ball is in the sky, we always want it to be the same. So if we just go back and look at our coordinates again, the very top of the page is y equal to 180. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set my y value to 180. So we've got an option down here, set y to 0, drag that out and attach it to the bottom and set it to 180. So now when our game starts, our ball's going to go to a random position along the x-axis, but the y value is always going to be 180, so it's always going to start at the top of the page. When I press the green flag now, you'll see the ball starts there. If I stop it and start it again, it moves over here. And you can see every time it's just going to a random position, but it's always starting at the top of the page. And that's because that y value is set to 180, which is the top of our page. Next thing we want to do is get this yellow ball to fall down the page. So we want it to come down the y-axis. Okay. So what we're going to do, we've got an option here, change x by 10, change y by 10. Here we go. We want to change the y by 10. Okay, and if we were to press that now, I'll just go back here and add 10 to my y coordinates, it would go to 190 and 200, it would go out of the page. Okay, we wouldn't be able to see it. So we need to turn that into the negatives. Okay, so change y by, you could write minus 10. That would be pretty quick though, so I'm going to halve that speed to minus 5. Okay. Now I want this to always be running. So what I need to do is put another forever loop in. So in my control tab, we need to get out this forever loop and put it around it. That means instead of our ball just jumping down 5 coordinates and stopping, it's always going to be dropping at a speed of minus 5. Okay, so if I put that there and just run it, let's see if that actually works yet. There we go. So our ball's dropping down the page. When it gets to the bottom, it just stops. Okay, so we need to tell it when it gets to this bottom position that it needs to come back up the top to a random position and fall again. Okay, so what we're going to do is create an if-then statement. Okay, if the ball is at the bottom of the page, then we want it to come back up the top and fall back down again. Okay, so we need to test its y position or its y coordinates and find out when it gets down to about minus 170 or minus 180. Okay, that's somewhere down the bottom of the page. Remember, here's your y coordinates here. Our ball is currently around the 170 mark. So when it gets to about that position there, we want it to come back up to the top. So we're going to go to our operators here. And we're going to choose the less than symbol. Okay, that's the little arrow kind of pointing to the left. We're going to put that between the if and the then. And what we're going to say is if the y position, so let's find the y position again. So I have to scroll down a little bit. There it is at the bottom of the motion tab. If the y position of the ball is less than minus 170, okay, so we're looking down our y-axis, and if our ball gets down here, which is about minus 170, then we want that ball to go back to the top of the page. Okay, and then we want it to just start at a random position. So it's basically this little bit of blue code all over again. Alright, so let's get the go-to mouse pointer and drop it in there and change the mouse pointer to a random position. The other thing we need to do is set the y to 180 again. Okay, so if the y position of the ball is minus 170 on our y-axis, then we're going to go to a random position at the top of our page. Alright, and we want this piece of code looping over and over again, basically until our game ends. So it needs to go inside this forever loop. So after change y by minus 5, drop that little bit of code in. Right, I know that's confusing. That's probably the hardest part of our game right there, working that out. But now when we press the green flag, we need to watch this hit the minus 170 mark, and it comes straight back up the top to a random position and starts falling again. Okay, these positions will change every time, which is good. Alright, so I'll stop the code there. That's got our yellow ball falling from the sky. Okay, that's good. The next thing we need to do now is get some points when we actually collect that ball in the basket. Alright, so I'm going to make a new script up, so let's go to our events and bring out the green flag again. And what we need to do is set a new variable up. Remember, as I said before, variables hold information, and that information changes over time. In this case, it's going to be our score. Our score is going to go up each time we collect this ball. And it's going to go up by 2 points. So, in our data tab here, let's make a variable up, and we'll call it score. Let's leave the first option here for all sprites checked. Click OK. You'll see the score appears in the top left hand corner of your page. Okay, the score at the moment is set to 0. That's good. We want to make sure it's set to 0 every time we run our game. So just grab, still in the data tab here, the set score to 0 and put it underneath that green flag. Okay, so each time we start our game, the score will reset and we'll go back to 0. That's all good. The next thing we want to do is we want to work out when this ball touches the bowl. Okay, when it does touch the bowl, that's when we get 2 points. Alright, so we need to go back to our control tab and we're going to do another if-then statement. Okay, in this case, if the ball and the bowl are touching, that's when we can get some points. Okay, so we need to go to our sensing tab here, and the first option says touching mouse pointer. Just drag that down and put it between the if and the then. And instead of touching mouse pointer, we want to work out if the ball is touching the bowl. Okay, so if our yellow ball, which is selected at the moment, is touching the bowl, then we want to get some points. So let's go back to the data tab and change the score, not by 1, but by 2. Remember, yellow balls are worth more than the blue balls, so we're going to change our score by 2. Alright, now that piece of code will run once and stop straight away if we run it now. What we need to do is put that inside a forever loop again. So this code is always running throughout our game. Okay, and our game will always be listening out for when the ball collides with the bowl. Okay, now you can drag that up and attach it to the rest of your code there and run your game just to test it. Okay, so let's try and get that yellow ball. You can see our score goes up ridiculous amounts. Okay, every time it touches it, it's going up quite a bit. Okay, so what we need to do next is we need to tell that ball to go back to a random position at the top of the page and not fall straight through the bowl. As soon as it hits that ball, we want the ball to go back up the top and start falling again. So again, it's this blue piece of code we just used. What you can actually do, instead of creating it from scratch, is right click on it and duplicate it. And you'll see that the two blue pieces of code are following your mouse now. Just put it straight underneath that if-then statement from before. So now, when the ball touches the bowl, we get 2 points, and straight away that ball is going to go to a random position on the page, but the Y value will be 180. So now when we run our game, and we hit that ball, watch the ball, straight back to the top of the page. We just get 2 points this time, so each time it touches the bowl. Alright, so that's working a bit better. Now something else I think will be nice is if we hear a sound when the ball hits the bowl, just so we know that we've done something right. Okay, so if you go to the sound tab at the top of the page up here, at the moment you've got a little pop sound. Okay, I don't know if you can hear that too well through my speakers. I'll turn them up, you might be able to hear it. Okay, that's a good little sound. Okay, if you wanted to choose another sound, you could hit this little speaker here and choose a sound from a library. Lots of different sounds there. But I find that most of these are too long. Okay, you want a really quick sound because you're going to be catching a lot of these balls. So if you play a quick sound like a little pop, it's going to work well. So let's just stick with that pop. Okay, so out of the sounds tab, we'll go back to the scripts, and we're going to go to this little pink sound tab here. So each time the ball touches the bowl, we're going to choose that first option, play sound pop. Okay, and that's going to go in actually above where we get the score. Okay, so we hear the sound of the pop first, then we get 2 points, and then the ball goes back to the top of the page. Okay, so that's a fair bit of code there, but if you follow it, it makes sense, and we should now hear a little pop when we collect the ball. Yep, so that's working through my speakers. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but we get a little pop each time we collect that ball. Okay, so that's good. Now the last bit of code I want to put into this is I want that ball to stop moving when it's the end of the game. So remember, when that time gets to 0, we just want to tell this sprite here, or this ball, just to stop moving, stop running these scripts. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Events tab here, and we've got this option, When I Receive End. So remember, back in the bowl here, we broadcasted a message when our timer got to 0, and it said it's the end of our game. Okay, so when the ball hears the message, hey, it's the end of the game, you need to tell it to stop running all these scripts. Okay, so that's pretty easy. In the Control tab, we've got this Stop option. Just drag it and attach it to the bottom of that and change where it says Stop All to Other Scripts in this sprite. So it stops these 2 scripts from running. Okay, so that's it. That's the yellow ball all done. Now the blue ball is basically the same. Okay, the only difference is you get 1 point for your score instead of 2. So there's a quick way to do this. What I'm going to do is right click on this first bit of code here, duplicate it, and I'm just going to go across to the blue ball and click on it. What that has done is put that piece of code into ball 2. There it is. Okay, what I'm going to do now is get this score code, right click on it, duplicate it, and with your mouse cursor move it across to the blue ball and just click once on the blue ball. And finally get this last little bit of code, right click, duplicate it, and go and drop it on the blue ball. Okay, now you can go across and select the blue ball sprite, which is ball number 2. You'll see the code all on top of each other, so you're just going to have to pick it up and move it around so you can see those three scripts. Now remember, the only thing we need to change in this bottom section where it says change score by 2, change it by 1. So you get 1 point for collecting a blue ball. Now that should have our blue ball working. Okay, let's press the green flag and test that. There we go, and let's just check our score when we catch the blue ball. Here we go. It's going up by 1. Okay, it's exactly the same as the yellow ball. We just get 1 point. Let's try the yellow one. We're getting 2 points for every yellow ball we catch. Alright, so that's the blue ball done. That doesn't take long at all. For the lightning bolt, again, same code. The only thing is we're going to lose points this time. Okay, so instead of changing the score by 1, we need to turn this into negatives, and we're actually going to lose 3 points if we collect a lightning bolt. Okay, so let's start duplicating this code. At the top here, right click, duplicate, and go and click on the lightning bolt. Okay. For this next piece of code at the bottom, right click on it, duplicate it, click on the lightning bolt. And then finally our last little bit of code here, right click, duplicate, and click on the lightning bolt. Now when you come across to your lightning bolt sprite, you'll see the code there all on top of each other at the moment, so space it out. And remember, we want to change the score by -3. Okay, so that's that little orange one down there. The other thing we're going to do is play a different sound. Okay, you want to play another sound when you collect the lightning bolt. Okay, so this time, okay, at the moment, sorry, if we go at the top to our sounds tab, we've got that pop there. Let's delete it. Hit that little cross next to the pop. We're going to bring in a new sound. Now, all sorts of sounds here. I might go to effects and see what they've got in there. We want a quick sound. Okay, something that doesn't sound like it's a happy sound either. So I don't know what we've got here to work with. Let's have a listen. Rattle, ripples, snap. There's some pretty weird sounds there. I think there's snap. Yeah, snap probably sounds the best for this. So I'm just going to go with snap. Short and sweet. Okay, and if I go back to the scripts where it says play sound pop, we're going to change the pop to snap. So each time the lightning hits the bowl, we're going to hear a snap sound. So let's run that and have a look. See if our score goes down by 3 when we collect lightning, and we also hear a different sound. Okay, here we go. Yep, there's our score changing. Our ball still works. That's looking really good. Okay, so if you want to run that in full screen, just press this button up here. You should be able to see it a bit better. I think that's our game finished. Let's have a look. We'll run it for 30 seconds and see how we go. So we can collect these balls, 1 point for the blue, 2 points for the yellow, everything's working well. We've got a lightning bolt. We lose 3 points. Okay, bear with me for 20 seconds. You can fast forward this part of the video if you want to see it till the end. When that time gets to 0, watch the time in the top right hand corner here. We should see a game over sign appear and all our scripts should stop. So our game will basically freeze when it gets to the 0 mark. There we go, so it gets to 0. All of our falling objects have stopped. Our score's looking good at 35 and we get the little game over message, and that's our game finished. Alright, so I'll just minimize that again. I'll just go to File and Save, and you have created the ball catcher game. Well done.